Welcome back here to episode 43 on the Police Special. What we're going to be doing today is going to be removing the stock handlebars right here. We got everything unplugged already. I'm going to undo the front master cylinder and stuff so I can leave the brake fluid all intact, and we'll just hang it down, and then we'll slide everything else off as a unit by taking off our clamp and setting it on the side. So usually I use Fireball bars. I had these ones here from Spatty's Speed Shop. These are a T-bar, and they were set up to go actually on an electric glide. So our electric glide are Indian, that's why they have a curve in them. They're still wrapped up, brand new. That's why they have a curve in them to go around the fairing. So I'm gonna put them on and see what they're like. They'll still work for a road glide. I just don't know how they'll look. And I don't remember if these are set up for throttle by wire or not. If they're not, I'll send them down to Fireballs and he'll notch it for my throttle by wire sensor. But that's what I'm going to be tackling today here in this episode, is removing this. Removing the old bars. So I also picked up just some matte black paint. And like I said, I'm going to matte black, flat black. You know, everybody has a different name. I'm going to paint the inside fairing myself with flat black paint. I don't really like it a gloss color. The sun reflects off it and glares back in your face. So I'm going to tackle that myself. It won't be in this episode, but I picked that paint up today. I dropped the outside fairing off today. At Mad Painters, and he's going to be painting it Vivid Black and white, and the white will match somewhat of the police white, and so he's doing that for me. He decided to not go with a scallop because the scallop fairings would go scallop on the tank, scallop on the side cover, and then scallop on the saddlebag. So he's going to follow the body line on the outside of the fairing and kind of round it off to a big teardrop like it is on the tank. I told him, I said, you're the painter. I said, you use your your talents, and just give her back to me when you're done. So drop that off today. So hopefully, I don't rush them by any means. I'm going to wrap up this front fender today so nothing will damage it while we work on the fairing and the bars. So I'm going to get set up here, and then we'll get filming again. Thanks. So here we are back. We got the bike lowered down on the lift. We wrapped our front fender. That's actually the bubble wrap that it came in. So I just keep it in a box and then wrap it around the fender so we can protect it. As you can see, I removed the inner fairing off. And like I said, I did that because we will be painting that. Just gonna do it myself. Just a spray bomb. I bought just paint. Again, I'm not too worried about it. You can spend as much money as you want on things, but try and do things on a budget. And obviously my buddy Mad Painter is gonna paint the outside, and he would have painted the inside for me, give me a good deal, but I'm just worried about, just what I wanna get done. So these are the handlebars here. So I removed off the inner fairing. This plug here that runs through the handlebars, that's for my throttle by wire. So that's what's going on here. But I have to remove my front master cylinder. So that being said here, I'm going to, sorry, I got it on the big stand here. I'm going to be undoing these two bolts here, which are the bracket for the master cylinder. The brake lever goes into the switch housing, which has a little plug in there. So not a plug, like a little plunger. So when I push this, when I push the lever, it's hitting a sensor, which then is closing the sensor and then sending a signal to the brake switch. So the brake switch in there is sending the signal to our tail light to turn on the brake light. So sometimes if we loosen the housing a little bit, we don't want to ever damage the brake switch, which is up in here. So I'm going to get this camera set up so we can see. So I'm going to be doing, trying to get my finger in here, going to be doing that screw and that screw there. They're both Torx. This way I don't have to undo my brake line. I'm going to tell you now, I'm probably going to have to open my brake line because the handlebars I'm putting in are a little bit bigger, so or taller I should say. So I'm probably going to have to open my brake line to extend the brake cable, and I will deal with that when the time comes. But for right now, my priority is to get the handlebars off and get the new ones mounted. So I loosen them off. This is a cap. You want to, when you go to put it on, you want to tighten them up evenly, top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom. Just set the bolts aside. Once I loosen, I can just do it all by my fingers here. So that's what I'm doing. So you probably can't see too well there. So I've got the cap off now, and there's my front master cylinder. So what I do now is I run my bolts back in. I know it's not on anything. And then I'm just going to hang it over my front crash bar. You do this so you don't lose the bolts. I have magnetic trays, but and I have plastic trays that you see me use when I do the transmissions. But now I'm just going to run them. Don't have to tighten them up real tight, just so I know they're not going to fall out. They have a little lock washer on either side. And like I say, this saves me having to re-bleed the brakes. I set it right down here, mirror side down, and we're golden right there. So we'll leave that like that. Now we're going to take the 4 cap screws, or Allen bolt screws. I'll tilt the camera down so we can see that. So, do apologize here. I'm now going to undo 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to undo those screws. I'll reset the camera here so you guys can see that. We'll go up a bit, and now we'll tilt you down. Right there looks good. Again, this is going to get my bars off for me. That's priority 1. I was going to run just riser bars right off and have them come up, and then I have a gauge housing here, and then the bars would just go right through the gauge housing or the gauge cluster like that. But the reason why I didn't end up going that way is I'd like a little bit higher bar. So I could have ordered more higher risers, but these were from a project that's been sitting around. I thought if I could utilize them, I would. So I'm trying to, like say, go on a budget and sell parts that I take off. So I didn't end up going that route. Again, I'm not too worried about it. These are things that I've had in stock. So, you know, in stock, I mean just kicking around the shop, changing your buddy's bars, changing other people's bars, picking them up at swap meets. So the key here is I don't have one of those fancy magnetic tank covers. I should probably cover the tank with something, but I'm going to undo these, you know, nicely on an angle, crisscross pattern. My bar rubbers seem tight, so that's okay. So how this works, this is called an upper tree. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that. The suspension's on a tree. This is an upper clamp that holds the handlebars. So the interesting part is the handlebar is knurled, and then the inside of this clamp and the bottom side of this clamp is knurled. And the friction of me tightening them down on each other hold the bars in place where you want them. So it's all about knurled. So people sometimes, this will come loose, and then they turn their bars like this. And what that's doing is stripping the knurl off the bar or off the clamp. And then what happens is the bars now are stripped. So now you may do an emergency stop, or you just might be riding and they drop on you or they push up, and that can be very unsafe. So we're almost there. Project's coming along. It's a good sign when you get some parts out to paint. I still have some wiring I want to clean up out front here. Like I say, this was a Police Special / road glide / street glide / electric glide, whatever you want to, excuse me, not a road glide. I'm making it into a road glide. So it had a bit more options on it. And so I got some wires I'll have to clean up, but you know, nothing that I'm afraid of, just a little bit more time consuming, but just want to keep working away is all. So now I can lift this top clamp off. There's the clamp, and you can see the knurl marks in it from it being tightened to the friction of, I'll lift this up here, there's something, set my ratchet aside. So you can see the knurl on the bar, and that's what holds it in between these bottom clamps and that top clamp. So all my hand controls are still plugged in, and they're still ran to my actual levers. And then obviously all we took off was our front master cylinder brake switch. Sorry, it's tough for me to tell where the camera is. So took off the brake switch. We took off our clutch cable at the very beginning, if you remember, because it went through the electric glide, street glide fairing. So those are our bars there that we have taken off. We're going to need them, so we're going to set them aside for the time being. Keep running out of room here to put things so I don't get them mixed up with other projects. The weather is getting a little warmer, but not enough to move stuff outside yet. So again, we'll worry about that at a later date. So I'll bring the camera over so you can see the knurl in the bottom of the clamp. So you can see where it was clamped down from the top clamp. So I'm gonna set the camera here, and I'm gonna open up these bars because they're all nicely wrapped here. Just grab a razor blade. I just use a razor blade. I try not to get in tight to the bar. Just cut the tape that's holding the nice foam from shipping. Like I say, these are made for curve around a street glide, electric glide, or Indian fairing. And they're a T-bar. I like T-bars. That's what I like. I mean, everyone has their own preference. So, but like I said, I had these sitting around for a project. I wasn't going to use them. I talked to Fireball. If this doesn't work out, he's going to make me a set. He's in the middle of rebuilding a Warlock Chrysler truck right now, so making a custom frame with a Crown Vic front end. So he's pretty busy himself. So sometimes your own projects get pushed to the back, and tough to get everything done. This, like I say with this one, the only thing I gotta make sure is A, I like them, and then two, is it set up for throttle by wire? That's the next thing. It's been so long, I don't recall, so I want to just make sure. Again, I don't know where the camera angle is. I'm just trying to pull the cardboard off here. If I can keep this foam that's on protecting it, I'd like to, and then I can set that aside. And if I have, you know, a nice painted crash bar or another set of bars or something, I can reuse the foam. So that was just on there to protect the bar and in shipping. I have these sitting in the house during the cold weather, so that's good. Getting the tape off the other side now. And I'll turn it around this way. And we'll do the same thing, try and get this cardboard off. So I'd like to not damage the foam too much. Can come in handy at a later date. There you go. It's crazy how sometimes how overkill some of the packaging is when you ship it. And you wonder if some of that takes up the size and weight of it to add to your shipping cost. But you really can't complain as long as the part gets there the way you ordered it. You know, it wasn't damaged or anything. So this is already got my notches in it for my throttle by wire sensor. So that's good. So we'll pull that off there. Now pull it off here. Those are nice looking T-bars. You can see the curve. Again, I'm hoping the camera can pick up the curve right here. So that would be to go around a street glide fairing, because the fairing on a street glide turns with the bars. On a road glide, the bars turn, but the fairing stays stationary. So the key is to make sure that this is going to fit in between my fairing, because there's nothing worse. So as I'm here now, I'm trying to fit it. I'll bring it over and show you. So it looks like we will be at a standstill. So I'm going to point you this way. There's my fairing. So if we pretended that that fairing was on my bike, and I take these bars, they don't even fit in between my fairing. You see that? So there'd be no way I could turn the handlebars and bring it back in between my fairing, because the fairing stays stationary. So these bars will not work for what I was thinking. So I'm going to wrap them back up here. Turn the camera back around. So this is customizing. I tried to save some money because I had them already here. I'm going to bring this camera back here, and I'll go back over here and wrap these handlebars back up. I don't know if I'll sell these, because I may come to a guy who's got a Road King or Electric Glide or Electric Glide or Street Glide that may want a set of T-bars. So I will recover them up here to protect them. And then we will put them back in the house, and we'll have them there to use on another project. So now I will reach out the Fireball. You'll probably tune in and see this video anyways, but I'll reach out the Fireball and tell them we got to go to plan 2 and plan 2 and actually make a set. So this won't slow down the process by any means, but I want him to carry on with his truck build and get to my stuff when he can. I don't want to bother him and his builds. So we will button this back up just like it was. So I'll set these aside for now, and then I'll take them in when I go in. So another reason I didn't like these is, like I say, they're not that tall. I like usually 13-inch bars, and I'm going to bring the camera back around so you guys can see this. So my fairing didn't work, or excuse me, my front fenders I had a tough time with, if you remember. And then now it's my handlebars. So that happens. Customization. So These risers, they are, I think they're a 10. I think these are a 10, and they're 10 inches. So these are 10 inches, so I could put those in, and they would be 10 inches tall. And there's nothing wrong with 10s. As you can see though, it's not that high off of my tank. So I'll show you what I mean by that. Here was my stock bars. If I put the stock bars in their riser, like that, and I measure off the bottom of the tree where it mounts, right like this, and I go up to where the handlebar curves, right there, if I had the handlebar set right there, that's 11 inches. So these bars are 11 inches up. So I understand I don't have any bars in these risers yet, meaning I put this riser in, and I'm going to use a moto bars. The moto bars can come out and come up 2 inches as well. So I understand that can play out. I like this design. This did come with a secondary bracket that would mount the gauges, the gauges in behind there, which looks real nice. But the problem is this gauge cluster is set up for a 2015 and newer, and they don't offer it for a 2014 and below. So my gauges are round. These ones are half circle, have a flat on the bottom. So it's a 3/4 circle with a flat. So my gauges won't fit in there. So for my application, it's not going to work. So this gauge set here would keep it the OEM style. Still very cold though. And the risers would go through them. Now I do have a Hog Tunes gauge set that's got the tweeter pods on it. So if I go this route, I'll have to put holes in it myself and to go through. But I'm thinking maybe this is the way to go. This is 10 inches. And then I will put moto bars through, which the moto bars will come across and they'll come up a bit, which will bring me 2 more inches, which will give me 12 inches. Because I like to be about 13 inches. That's what I've had on all my other bikes. This FXR has 13-inch bars on it as well. So I'm going to hum and haw, think about this. Hum and haw and think about it. Not too sure what I want to do. What I want to do. So I'll probably end this video here. So we'll have to call this one Handlebars Part 1. I'm going to talk to Fireball about it. Like I say, we can make the same type of T-bars that are on the FXR that just come right out of the lower mount, come straight up. I can go with these this 10-inch riser setup and go through the gauge set and then just put moto bars in. Or, I'll weigh my options. It's best to talk to the professional, the handlebar maker, and see what his thoughts are. In the meantime, I'm going to put my top clamp back in place so I don't misplace it, and obviously put my screws back through. So in this episode, we covered our front fender. We removed our front master cylinder and brake cable. And so we didn't have to unhook our master cylinder or our cable off of the master cylinder. Our bars are throttle by wire, so we will have to remove our old handlebars and get all that out. We removed the inner fairing, which we're just going to spray bomb ourselves matte black. And then I dropped the outer fairing off today at Mad Painter to get painted professionally through him. And so we'll leave that like that. I will contact Fireball, get his thoughts on it, and then go from there. So it's a procedure of customizing for sure. So option 1, put risers in, use gauge set with holes. I have a Hog Tunes gauge set with speakers on that I would have to cut those holes, not a big deal. Or make a set of just straight T-bars and put them directly in and remove the lower clamp right off and just thread it right up and in. Or take the lower clamps off, thread in the 10-inch risers, and then have Moto 2-inch bars off of it. So that's where we're at. So until next video, we'll call this one part 1 of handlebars. Just like our front fender, we tried 3 different front fenders till we found the one we wanted. The bars could be the same thing. So stay tuned and appreciate you guys watching. Thanks. Bye.